Okay, we're going to go try to finish the Maamar now. We've been learning on Mishpatim, explaining the various levels of the servants. The Eved Kanani, the Eved Ivri, the Amma Ivriya. So we explained the Eved Kanani fundamentally works by the idea of that he wants to be free. And it's the shevet, the fear of the shevet, of the staff, of the stick, of the master that manifests whether in material things or punishment or disconnect. But it's something that he fundamentally doesn't want to be connected, doesn't want to serve, but he's forced to serve because of a reason. The Eved Ivri, the Hebrew slave, is a person that has, so in the Midos, that's Netzach Yisod, is the world of Asiya. And davening, that's the first part of Hoidu. In Avodah, in Torah, that's the learning for Shaloi Lishma, and Shaloi Lishma has a various range, like the range of the Eved Kanani, from Tivi to the lowest level. So we have the different ways of learning Torah, whether it's learning Shaloi Lishma, because even to learn the halachas, know halach l'maisa, how to behave, all the way down to looking to anger Hashem. And that's with all idea of Lo Lishma. Then you have the Eved Ivri, which is the servant who serves out of love, but not ready to change, or not able or ready to change his character. And therefore he takes who he is to serve Hashem. And in davening, that's Baruch Shamar, and in Torah, that is the idea of learning for the sake of learning, but as a makabel, receiving from Torah, not looking to add to Torah. And the third level is Amivriya, is the maidservant who she works in the house. She's like the one who changes the food from being raw to being edible, bringing out the flavor. And that's the idea of the flavor of change in your life and the ability to have moichin, intellect over midos. The moichin understands what has to be done, not how you feel, and even change the character of the person. And in davening, that's the Shemina, that is the Kriya Shema, and Brechas Kriya Shema, and in Torah, that's Torah the Shema, the idea of being moisif in Torah, and with the Bnei Yisrael there is the Chasim, and the Torah is the Makabel, is the Kala, and in the Avodas Hashem, it's elevating the Torah. David, who's Machaber Torah L'Maila, elevating Torah because the Shorish of the Nefesh Yehudi, of the Nefesh Elikis, is higher than Torah. It's Kadmon the Torah, like it says, Dabra Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael is there first, and therefore they're able to elevate the Torah to the level of the Shorish of the Jew. Now, he continues the Maamar V'hinei, Kashem Shenispar, a little bit feel the Torah. We learned that there's the three levels of the Eved Kanani and the Eved Ivri and the Amma Ivriya in davening and learning. Kamoikenu Gam B'Kav Ashlish, the third pillar, which is the Gemilas Chasadim Shuini, you call it the mitzvahs. That represents the idea of mitzvahs. We know that mitzvahs are called tzedakah, the pishi ikar ha-mitzvahs. The main of the mitzvahs is the idea of giving. We find the three ways of performing the mitzvahs in these three levels of the Eved Kanani, the Eved Ivri, and the Amma Ivriya. So he says, what are these levels? So the idea is like this. There's a way a person does the mitzvah, like in the Torah, even if you don't have a pneumonia, you don't have an agenda why you're doing the mitzvah. You're just doing it because that's what you're accustomed to. Mitzvahs are nashim l'mada. People do what they're raised to do. People don't go out of their norm, out of what they're comfortable with. Period. Machmas hergel, but you're accustomed to shahurgel mikatmusai, what you've been educated to when you were younger. Share gilu v'lim what your parents taught you, what your family does, what your teachers taught you, what your friends do. How did you start doing Torah? The mitzvahs was because you went to school, and if you didn't do the mitzvahs, you were punished. Heaven, from there it came your nature. And no longer does your father stand over you or your teacher stand over you with the belt or the punishment, what have you, however you want to describe it. But then after a while it becomes who you are. That's your custom. That's what you're accustomed to. So the one is, it's not here, not there. You're just doing the mitzvah because that's what you're accustomed to. Another person does a mitzvah with an agenda. When we inspire him, you beautify yourself with the mitzvah means you use it for a way to promote yourself, your ego. That's much lower. In time is it's brought down when it comes to fasting. If a person fasts and takes pride, mispar from the word tiferes, says, "Look at me, I could fast. Look at me, I'm so holy." It's better don't fast. That's the Eved Knani, who does everything. It's about him. So if he's serving Hashem because he's scared, or if he's serving Hashem because it makes him beautiful, if he's serving it's all about how he fits into the story. That's the fundamentals of the Eved Knani. From the highest level, like you said in the beginning of it, so even a Beinoni could be an Eved Knani. Because he's at the end of the day, he's scared of the Shevet. He doesn't want to, he wants what he's supposed to do, he doesn't want to be punished. Even spiritually, they shouldn't be connected. Madrigas, Eved Ivri, how's the Eved Ivri perform mitzvah? It's not because the Eved Knani the Eved Ivri does the mitzvah because he's accustomed to it or because he beautifies himself in it, but because through doing mitzvahs, you're bringing godliness, you're bringing chayis, you're bringing chiyas, you're bringing vitality to your soul. But through doing the mitzvahs, and each one of the 248 positive commandments represent 248 of the limbs of the melech, of the king, and they bring it to yourself, not just to your physical body, but to your neshama. And by being careful in the 365 prohibitions, that's also the corresponding of the 365 prohibitions is within the person's arteries, like it says. The point is that when the Eved Ivri performs the mitzvahs, he is who he is, and he gets extra chayis through performing the mitzvahs because through the mitzvahs he's connecting to the Eibishter through the mitzvah savaya. You live with the mitzvahs. But he hasn't changed himself. He is like this, like the fundamental point of the Eved Ivri is doesn't change himself. He brings the food from the outside in. Yes, he brings it into a place of holiness, but he hasn't changed. But as he is, he wants his life to be functioning on godliness. It's not that he's taking beauty in it, it's not that he's accustomed to it. He understands that he has to be connected to Eibishter in every one of his 613 parts of his body, in the positive and the prohibitions. And he is who he is, and he connects all that to the Eibishter. It's still an Eved Ivri because he hasn't changed himself. The and the higher levels, the Amma Ivriya, the Meitzervin, Shinyana, her idea is the idea is not about her. We know that Magid Dvar of Yaakov, that when she performed and the Yid performs the mitzvahs, it causes that the Eibishter should bring these amshachas down. Not that I should get amshacha, I should become spiritual, but that the Hashem does the mitzvahs malmayim. Rebbe says there's two levels. Like I said before, this level of how he does what he asks us to do. He puts on tefillin and he davens. He visits the sick, right? He visits Avram. Menachem Avinu visits Yitzchak when Avram passes away. And it says that the Jewish people should do what he does. The second level is higher than that is the first level, Magator of Yaakov, the Eibishter does, and therefore we do. Second level is we do, and therefore the Eibishter does. You make me, you made me. I can consider it as if you made me by performing the mitzvahs, you make me do the mitzvahs. What's that mean? If you should mitzvahs, the 248 positive commandments are the 248 limbs of the king. When a person does mitzvahs, brings the energy into the form of Adam. The sicha, God is our shadow. Just like a shadow is a shadow of the person. You make the movements and the shadow copies. So to on the higher level, Hashem is like a shadow. What we do, he copies. If we do the mitzvahs, then we're bringing them shachas. The Eibishter should bring them shachas down to this world. Why can't I take him mitzvahs? Vasisim oisem, azai, vasisim atam. You're making that I should do the mitzvahs. Malani alechem ki'ilu asasuni. Without Indian Amar Vriya became a mitzvah. That's the level of the Amar Vriya. That's again like the idea of being mamshech, elevating Torah, being elevating the mitzvahs as the mitzvahs of ayah. The Eibush does the mitzvahs. And this is something that wouldn't happen. It means the level of the first means it's not that that the mitzvah is done twice. That the Magid Vav Yaakov Hashem davens, and therefore we daven, and then if we daven, he also davens. The initial Magid Vav Yaakov is one level. When we do the mitzvahs, we're causing a much higher level of Hamshacha. Hamshacha Chadasha. That's a higher level of the initial Hamshacha that Hashem empowers us to do the mitzvahs. So now we've explained in all the levels of Torah, Avadim Chasad into 3 levels. But all this is still servants. So what's the bas? Now we're into the 4th level that we haven't addressed at all in the Maamar until this point. The level of the daughter, Barta the Malka, the daughter of the king. This is the 4th level. The 4th level is the level of Atzilus. What we discussed now is Bria, Tzia, Siya, and the Evri is the highest level is Bria, and the Evet Kanani is Asiya, and the Evet Ivri is Yitzira, and all the levels of davening of Haidu until through Triyashma, and in davening and learning and in changing. All this is the level of Evet. Each one of them are an Evet and a different level. But what is Barta, the Malka, the daughter of the queen, is the level of the king, is Bechinas Chai Yechida, is the level of the Neshama, the 4th level, which we said is combined of 2, the level of Chai Yechida, and in the world of Atzilus, which is the 4th category, behind Roshagim, Hamadregas, David Kanani, Eved Ivri, V'Amevriya, and Bechinas Nefesh, Ruch, Neshama, B'Yah. That's all the levels of the 3 levels of the Panimis of the Neshama, the way it's in beyond the world of creation, downwards. But all these 2 Bechinas Avadim, like we said before, it's all different levels of servants. Bechinas Atzilus, but the level of Atzilus, of Bechinas Bain, that's a child. Like we say in the Rosh Hashanah davening, either we're like children, we're like servants. Included in servants is all the 3 levels from Amavri down to the Evet Kanan. In Kabbanim, that's the level of Atzilus, that's Chai Yechida. In Kabbanim, hu bechinas Atzilus, that's the world of Atzilus. In Kavadim, hu bechinas Biyah, that's the world of Biyah, Bri Yitziasi. What does this mean? The Hine Bechol Hamadreg Sanal. All these 3 levels, fundamentally, even in the Amavriya, that's making changes, changing in Torah, changing in mitzvahs, and changing in herself, in Avodah, but it's still, you are something. I know, if surely the Evet Kanani should be there, that it has to force himself, because Yiras HaShevet, or drinks Evet Ivri, Shu Hergish Alev, and Evet Ivri, who's feeling it himself. Of course, that's Yeshem Mitzias. Shem Mechinis Mitzias. Ein Vehem Shinyam Hus. They didn't change anything, so they stayed who they are. And Afilu Madregas Amavriya. One would say, 1 second, with Amavriya, she is changing things. She changes herself. She has Mayach over Midas. How could you say that she stays in Mitzias? He says, she changes her character. It's still Yeshem Mitzias. It's still something. Why? As Yesh Mishamev and Yesh Mishamas. Just like we say here, the Rebbe says at Big Madrega, just like we say Yesh Misha Oihev, there's someone who loves. The same thing, although mind is greater than Midas, Seichel is greater than Midas, but still Yesh Mishamev and Yesh Mishamas. It's how you understand it and how you feel and how you comprehend it. Although it's Moichem, but it's with how you understand the Moichem. The garment level, the bas is not about your mind at all. It's not about you. You totally don't exist. You come like a bas is like a level of the dot that has no expansion at all. Bina, yesh mishem even, Bina has expansion. It's hey. Yud is a dot. That's bittul. The first letter of Hashem's name. That's why the first 4 letters of Hashem's name, Yud is Atzilus and Hey is Bria. It's here, Asiya is Vav and Hey. So the Rebbe says, "Ela afilu madregas amevri shu ba'ofen shashinim hus hu adayim b'chinas yesh mitzias. Yesh mishmev and yesh mishamasik. The b'chinas ba'asi b'chinas bitul mitzias l'gamish. Nasan kunikudaches become like a dot. U'avodas at tefillah. Where is this in tefillah? U'vabitul dishmin asrei. Even Shema Yisrael is an expression. Even though it's your mind, Shema, listen, may even understand. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. If you could change your mitzias, but you're projecting. Shemon Esrei is quiet, silent, the silent prayer. That's total bittul. Especially when you're bowing in the davening. Why are you bowing? It's because the essential connection of the Chai Yechida to the Eibishter. That's the essence of the soul, the internal of the soul. Here the Rebbe says that how does a person reveal that level within them? If I don't have the tools to reveal that, right? Because at the end of the day, the best I could do is use my mind to control my heart. How do I get in touch with my core, with my Nakuda that has no expansion? How do I get in touch? He says that comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the whole Nakuda of this expansion. He gives the das, the essential connection that's even beyond seichel to Neshamas Yisrael. It says, he gives Esav, he gives the grass in the field to the behemoth. The das elin who yesh because from the perspective of Moshe Rabbeinu, everything that's above is the real thing. Means the Maila is yesh. Anything that's not the Eibishter is nothing. Nothing really exists. Like when a person gets das elin, not das tachtim. Das tachtim is that I'm a yesh and I have to acknowledge Hashem. But das elin is the Eibishter is the real existence. I'm nothing. As I sorry, it's not the Esav, das elin ishlamali yesh l'matayim. When you get the das elin from Moshe Rabbeinu, he's sikne eved ivri. As I nigesh gam b'hamata. Then you realize, even from your perspective, where you're standing, that you're nothing. That's the bittul. And therefore you become bittul mutzias from what Moshe Rabbeinu accomplishes in a person. That's why in all the Maamar of Mishpatim it says that even the Neshamas of Atzilus have to take from Moshe Rabbeinu. Everyone has to take from Moshe, not just the Beinoni, not just the behemoth, not just the Zera behemoth, but even the Zera Avadim has to take from Moshe Rabbeinu. Everyone has to take from Moshe Rabbeinu to have the Metzius of Das Alin. They have that kind of vittel of Das Alin, that the Eibishter is the Yesh and Ya'amanayim. This is the basic idea of starting from the Torah Or. You're going to put in front of them. When you're going to acquire an Eved he's the one who brings Das Alin to the Neshamas Yisrael. Alone we can't get it. Alone, the highest level a person could reach alone without Moshe Rabbeinu, without a Rebbe, is to be the level of a Omrivriya. That your mind can control your emotions, but to become a bas, to become in the world of Atzilus, to become a Nekuda, a total bit that you need from Moshe Rabbeinu. Kisik nevedivri. By days who Magal's Pnimis and Hashem, and he reveals what you have essentially. Alone, you can't reveal that. Shizawin lifneihem, v'zom lifnei kisik nevedivri. K'mevur b'terror, the Alter Rebbe explains in terror. She'evedivri. He shows that where you come from, the Avar on the other side of the river, but that has to be revealed through Moshe. Yashva V'seichem is where your father said. Which is the source of the Neshama. Moshe is the one who could reveal your hidden soul. You can't reveal that alone from concealment to reveal. And this allows for the person to reach the level of Bittul Mitzvus, the level of Bas, the level of Bein, the Inkibonim. How long these details of all the different avodas, that's all the levels of the people on their own. But the highest level, you should be able to reach the total bittul of Metzias. Moshe has to give the kinyan. Moshe has to reveal that in the person. That's the level of Das Elin, and that's the ability of a person to have total bittul Metzias. That's even harder than sicha. The idea is not just that you should be elevated, but it penetrates even all the levels of the person. The Eved Kanani, the Eved Ivri, and the Omevriya, even the Eved Kanani that has a skafia is able to shine through his etzem and neshama. And then a person reaches a level where they should be, because also the idea of the nefesh neshama is in with Nietzsche of every one of us. We have some characters of the nefesh of the Eved Kanani, some of the Eved Ivri, and some of the Omevriya. The idea Kisik Eved Ivri is that Moshe Rabbeinu brings Das Elin through to penetrate all the different madrigas of all the levels of neshama, all the levels of Avadim, whether it's in various people, whether it's in the same person themselves. All right, Baruch Hashem, it takes a few days, but we finished the Maamar. Shukayach for joining. Have a wonderful Shabbos.